Del here. Today I want to talk about my recent experience with jury duty. Received a notice in the mail, and the first thing I did was look up a statute that exempting older people from jury duty. Well, however, I think out of 70 some counties in the state, the one county that I'm in happens to not exempt people that are older. You go. So that was that. Get there, took my first Uber ride, which was extremely enjoyable, and it was well worth it just to get that Uber ride, and notice that you can't get in the building until a certain time. They wanted us there at 8, and the building doesn't open till 7:30. I wish that this and a bunch of other items would have been announced ahead of time, just not to be bombarded with surprises here and there. So you get in, you have to go through the metal detector. So that meant this is winter, and you have to take off your coat because I don't know, the metal zippers on the coat or something, and you're stuffing. You don't really have to put your cell phone in the box, the little bin, or your wallet or credit card either. So that was another surprise about that. But you put it through, and then you walk through the metal detector, and then if everything's good, you keep going. And you got to put your same thing with the watch. The watch didn't really need to go through the metal detector. So we got there, and we didn't really have anything going till 9. So some of us were there before 7:30. So we just had an hour and a half before things started happening, and then we had to listen to some videos prepping us for what was going to go on. And one of the things that was so interesting was, I said, the jurors are many things they're not supposed to do. They're not supposed to discuss the case or things like that, and they're not supposed to do personal investigations like what Hank Fonda did in 12 Angry Men. He went and investigated. Oh, that's not a real life kind of thing. So maybe it was good for Hollywood and good for his career, but that's not allowable for us as jurors. It wasn't a surprise. They notified us of that, but the cafeteria is closed. So that was another thing. But there was a microwave there which nobody used, and also is extremely crowded. There's a couple of major areas of the jury duty area, the jury room I think they call it, where there's a sort of a amphitheater kind of thing with seats that arise in rows of seats. Are higher than the next, so everybody can see. And then we had to, as I said, listen to some some videos that acquaint us with what's going on. Also, here's a surprise: they've got a captive audience, so they come in, and it's a worthwhile endeavor. I'm not saying anything that it isn't, but they attempt to get you for a blood drive. And in my case, at the blood drive was, I think, at 1 o'clock or something. At that point, I was in a jury in a courtroom. I'm going to say 3 or 4 blocks away. Now that 3 or 4 blocks was all inside, so that part of it was nice. That part of it was you know, can't really complain about it. And let's see what else. So bring a book to read, or diddle on your phone or something. You can get access there. Your phone, they tell you what to do if you have a tablet or something. That way is good. And also, technically speaking, I had a pretty smart Uber operator and an Uber driver, and he knew where I was going, and so he got me to the right place. But technically, I think the address was said one street, and it was a different street. So that was pretty well there. I'd rather get there early and just get to where I got to go. And so, at any rate, as I said, with the courtroom that I had to go to was 3, 4 blocks away, it seemed. And the policeman, this is an area with the call it the courthouse, the safety building, and there's a jail there, and so there's a million police all over the place. And so our guy was a fast walker. So he, he said, "Is there anybody here that can't keep up?" "Here I am, sir." I said, "I'm a straggler," and he said, "Okay, I'll walk slow." So we made it over to where we needed to be. Got in the court, and first of all, in the jury room, they call off your names, and people go. They call it maybe 30 people or so, maybe a little more, to go to, because they have to, if they're going to pick 14, 12 jurors and 2 alternates, they got to have a bigger jury pool of maybe 30 something to pick from, because people have excuses, whatever, certain people they don't want. And so we got over to the jury, and it was a wonderful judge. I really admired the way she ran her courtroom. She explained everything, and then the DA lawyer talked for a while, and then the defense attorney, and the defendant was there as well for all of this. And so they went through, and everybody had to give their kind of a short bio, and one of the questions was if you previously served on a jury. So you had to answer those questions and give it by, and it was all very pleasant, and nobody judged anybody or anything like that. And then they went through people for various reasonings that might not be on a jury because they're related to somebody that's in a position of the goings on here, maybe the attorneys or the police involved, because there will be police testifying and so forth. So anything to do with that, anybody that's had a bad experience with the police, they wanted to know about it, and they would ask if can you still render an objective judgment and that kind of thing. And so went through that. I mentioned that the acoustics in the room were different. They were interesting, but the judge talked really fast, and I didn't catch everything that she said. And the same for the defense attorney. The DA was closer to me in physical proximity, and I caught every word she said. But, and I mentioned that the one attorney mentioned that was I criticizing her, and I, in no way, shape, or form was I criticizing the judge or the wonderful way she ran her courtroom or that attorney. I was criticizing myself. I just could not comprehend things at the speed and the complexity that they were thrown at me. So I thought I'd mention it just to be on the safe side. They should, if they're going to put me on a jury, they should know what they're getting. I'll give it the best I got, and I'll do what they ask me, but I just wanted them to know. So that was another thing, and inadvertently, I think I may have talked myself out of a spot on the jury, and also for other older people. That was another thing about this. I happen to reside in a county that, despite the other 70-some counties in the state that exempt older people, this one didn't. So, and there were other people there that were professionals and so forth, and that they were a little bit older as well. So the reality of it, I'm beginning to understand that to do what they need you to do, it doesn't really matter. Some people a certain age might not be able to handle it, and others can. So I guess they just, it's such a big outfit there, and they've got so many courts and they need a certain amount of jurors that they gotta get some people in there to look them over and so forth. So that was another thing. But you never saw on the way out, they kept the juries, and then the people that got rejected, you never saw people happier to be rejects in your entire experience. Because normally if, say, like an actor gets rejected for a job, it's disheartening. But here it seemed to be a happy kind of thing. So back to the jury room, and again, I recommend that you bring a book or something to keep you occupied. You're sitting there doing nothing. and everybody there is silent. So if you want to read a book, it's quiet enough for you to do that. And it is. I've experienced no unpleasantness whatsoever, but there were just some surprises. And it was cold out that morning, and when they didn't open up the the doors, according to the sign on the door, they kept that, but you just don't, in this kind of middle of the winter atmosphere, 10-15 minutes out in the cold is just a little bit beyond what you so I would recommend, if they don't want you there, if they ask you to be there at 8 o'clock, it probably means that, maybe 9 o'clock might be acceptable. They might not be happy about it, but that way you might save yourself a little bit of time. And so, also, one of the extremely positive items on the list, so far it's all been, a little bit on the negative side, I grant you, but I'm just trying to advise you ahead of time, so that if you're the kind of person that doesn't like surprises, just to be aware of this. One of the things is you're going to rub elbows with some outstanding people. They're just people that have had amazing careers, and they do interesting things for a living, and they've had kind of people you want to know. And so that way it's really, really well. And then also, you don't have to go that often. That's another thing. So I've been pretty lucky in my life. I've always been a reserve, and it's a telephone thing. You call up, hey, we don't need you today, pal. Okay. And then that's it. We'll see you in X amount of years, and it's usually more than that. So, also, I couldn't have planned this any better. It was like a movie, but the end of the first day, they let some of us out, some of us rejects that didn't make it on the juries. They probably figure, well, the same thing's going to happen tomorrow, and we're going to have to pay them again. And I think for a full day it was around $25. Some of it is for, I think it was two major things. Well, you get paid for a half a day or a full day, and then there's another thing that you get paid for. So it was $25 for a day. So my one Uber ride cost more than that. But on the way out, called ahead of time for the Uber ride, and as I was walking out the door, again in the cold weather, I didn't know anything, the color of the Uber car or anything, but it was all on my cell phone. So I just happened to, and somebody else pointed out to me, that's the Uber car. So I just jumped right in, and I was home in, 20 minutes or something. Would have taken hours on public transportation. It's cold out. It's middle of winter. It would have been in maybe some transfers or something like that. So it was the quickest way to get in and out. So you feel good that you want to do your civic duty, and you feel bad because that it's in some ways it's inconvenience. And depending upon what you do for a living and how much money you make doing that something for a living, this way you're not going to be able to do it. But so that was my experience. And then they put these little stickers on you to make it official. And so there it is. Oh, also their cafeteria was closed. So that was one other thing. That if you're a cafeteria person and you don't want to bring your own lunch, that was another thing. I brought my own lunch, and as long as it's not metal, they don't give you too much of a problem. If you say you bought metal utensils and you put them in the bin, and they're going to say, hey, the beeper goes off or something like that. But bring plastic utensils, and there are some there already in the jury room. So a lot of things are convenient. A lot of things. And now that I know, for next time, I won't be so surprised at certain items. So I hope this helps. And I think that maybe you could learn from my experiences, and maybe it helps you out a little bit. Like always, that's what we try to do here on this channel. I'm going to sign off on this one for now. Later.